Good morning, everyone. It's really my pleasure here today to have our regular sharing session from HRM. Before we start it, I would like to give you a brief introduction of myself and also HRM. Thereafter, our wonderful presenter, and then that will be under her control on the presentation today. Okay, so my name is Rita Choi. I believe that I'm not new to everyone here. I'm the founder of HRM, and I've been in the human resources field for over 20 years, serving different multinational companies and also listed companies in Hong Kong. And I'm from Hong Kong, and the reason I'm the founder of HRM, as all of you know, that HRM provides a platform for all the HR professionals in Asia to share and exchange ideas with the aim to add value to each other. Having sharing sessions on a regular basis is one of our highlights, and today is no exception. And today we are very, very pleased and honored to have our speaker or presenter of the day, who is going to talk about employees' experience, future of work. She is one of the most fabulous HR leaders in 2019, and her name is Miss Vimala Pathy, who is the Senior Manager, HRBP, MetLife Insurance Malaysia. So without further ado, I would like to pass the control to her so that she can introduce herself, and at the same time, she will start her presentation. So after the presentation, we will have Q&A. Okay, so I would like to pass the control to our wonderful speaker, presenter today, Vimala. It's your turn.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you so much. First and foremost, I must thank Rita for giving this opportunity to me to be part of this esteemed group. Yeah, I'm amazed with the work that she has been doing all this while, despite having a full-time job. Doing this is really a very you need a special kind of person to do that. Okay, so thank you, Rita. Quickly on my introduction. So basically, as Rita mentioned, I was awarded one of the most fabulous HR leaders for 2019. And this award was given by the World HR Congress. Now, I'm sure some of you might have seen Rina Sarif previously. So we actually shared the same stage in February, last February, to receive this award. Now, what I would like to share about me receiving the award is some of the things that has happened over the years that brought me closer to the award and finally winning it. I think as HR leaders or practitioners, it's really very, very important for us to have a strong passion for the profession itself. So a lot of leaders that I've spoken to or I have engaged with, the most important thing that everybody speaks about is passion. We need to have that passion. And number two is to network. The right networking really helps in in all areas, especially when you connect to people, you learn, you get the right kind of ideas, stuff like that will help us as HR leaders to progress. So that is something that I have been doing for a very long time. Alongside with that is the companies that I've been privileged to work with. The support that I've gathered throughout the years is really marvelous. So it's also very important for us as HR leaders to have that support from the top leaders, the CEOs, the CFOs, of course. Yeah, CFOs holds the budget, right? So if we want to do things in the organization, these are the people that we must be connected to, and we must be able to share our idea, of course, show the ROI of what's going to transpire from whatever engagement initiatives that we are doing, so on and so forth. So without further ado, I'll continue with a sharing session. Now, what I want to talk to you today about is employee experience. I'm sure most of you have heard this. This is like a the buzzword, and it's been going on for some time. We're very used to hearing customer experience, how as an organization we need to ensure that our customers love us, value us, and will continue to have the interaction with us as an organization. Similarly, the concept applies to employees as well. So a lot of times, companies or organizations fail to realize that creating a valuable employee experience, they fail to create that employee experience because the focus has been very much on customers. But over the years, we realize we have always been talking about engagement and stuff like that. So moving on, first and foremost, I want to basically make it obvious that employee experience is definitely not employee engagement. Why is that so? Is employee engagement is the effect that comes from employee experience. So if you do not experience, if you don't have a good experience in the organization, you're not going to be engaged, right? So all this while, in the olden days, we have always been talking about employee engagement, and right now it's actually a quick fix, right? It's a short-term focus towards employees. It gives you that adrenaline rush, but this is not going to take you further in long term. So hence, in this era now, we are talking about creating valuable, positive employee experience for our organizations, for our people. Now, when we talk about employee experience, it's basically a long-term design of the organization that puts people at the center. Okay, so we are not talking about stuff like snacks in the pantry or beanbags in the office and stuff like that. So those are the quick fix, which is good. It comes along well in the beginning. A lot of our employees would love to have that snacks in the pantry, would love to have fruits in the fridge, the bean bags, the game rooms and stuff like that. But like I said, what is more important for us as HR leaders is to be more consumer-centric, using digital as a tool for us to create valuable employee experience. And it, like I said, it mirrors our best customer experience. So that is typically what it means about employee experience versus employee engagement. Moving on. So there'll be all these questions. Where do we start? We are already there. We are already doing it. It's just that sometimes we don't realize, sometimes we don't document it, we don't measure it, but we are doing it. So for those of us who are still not sure where to start, my suggestion will be always start from the employees themselves, because you must want to know, all right, you need to know what your employees want from their perspective. We as HR leaders at times tend to think that I've done this, I've done that, I'm sure my employee will be happy. Oh, my pulse survey seems to say I'm going on the right direction, but that can be only for a year or two. But what we are talking about is about long term. So let's start with employee perspective. Speak to your employees, ask them the right questions, give them the right platform for them to give out ideas and stuff like that, right? Number two, we must understand the key milestone in our employee journey. What I meant by that is each one of us as an employee have different phases of life, right? So along the way, I might be someone who have just started my career, okay? So my journey will be very different from someone who has been in the organization for the last 15 to 20 years. My expectations will be different. So it is really important for us to bucket our people, right? You know where your employees fit in the bucket, right? And the third important thing is also looking at holistic iterative design reinvention. What it basically means is you continuously improve. You continuously improve what you have been doing. You do something, if it works out well, fine and great, continue doing it, explore further, right? So this is a methodology that we must use when it comes to, it's not only creating employee experience, it could be anything. We all learn from our day-to-day experience, from sharing of knowledge and stuff like that, yeah? Let's move on. Now, this is just a simple slide to give you some ideas about what constitutes to employee experience. So first and foremost, obviously culture. Different organizations have different culture, different countries have different culture. We can be working in multinational organization, but these MNCs in different countries may operate differently, okay? So it all boils down to how the leadership works. What is the leadership approach? What is the work style? How do we pay, compensate our people? How do we manage performance? Stuff like that. These are all cultural aspects, which is really, really important, because when an employee, let's say a first day of an employee onboarding to your organization, these are the first things that will immediately reflect from us as an organization towards the employee. So we have to create the culture. If he or she comes on the first day and being greeted very warmly by human resources, by the team leader, by the team themselves, of course the experience and the culture that is being created will be very positive. Imagine what if is the way opposite, right? So this is something that we have a grip on, and we should ensure that we are ensuring positive cultures to be, to be felt by each and every employee. Talking about technology, well, we all know technology is an enabler for everything that we do today, right? So technology is the most important piece, I would say. Of course, human touch is very important, but technology is going to enable us to ensure that we got the right collaboration going on, the right productivity being the progress of right productivity, the communication, how we interact with one another. There are times where the gadgets that we have, most of us spend so much of time on our gadgets. How many of us at one time carrying, a mobile phone, a laptop, an iPad, stuff like that. So it's really, really very important. And another point that I would really like to touch on is crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing from HR perspective basically means that we try to engage, or we try to attract talents that we need in the way of crowdsourcing. So as an organization at this point in time, we may not have the luxury of having a couple of thousands of employees. So what can we do when we don't have the right talents? We go on crowdsourcing. So that is one of the latest technology. I wouldn't say latest, but it's one of the technology that's being used for the last couple of years, right? Connectivity, mobility, all that is part and parcel of the technology piece. The third component, the workplace. Well, we all would love to have a workplace that looks cool, that feels cool, that is like we are proud to talk about, stuff like that. But this setup, it may work for some organization, it may not work for some organization. So we as HR leaders should know what works the best for us, right? So the questions that we normally should ask ourselves is, where do we go, or where do your employees go to get the best work done, right? So we talk about open concept office. No more cubicles, because we want to have that open environment where people can chat with one another and stuff like that. Like I said, we don't have the luxury of doing that at all times, depending on the company that we are in. So my suggestion would be, do away with simple things, right? So you can't be, if you have a cubicle type of office, you can't be breaking down those cubicles just to make sure that you have an open office, and that's going to cost you a lot. But what you can still do is find a small corner somewhere where uh, you have a space, a safe space for people to collaborate. So that particular space can be used as your collaboration area, where you can bounce off ideas, talk to one another, sort out your differences, come to an agreement, stuff like that, right? So because people want to have that space, you spend more than 8 hours of your time at workplace. So you need to ensure that you give that space for people. And these are the consideration, the different kind of consideration you should have when it comes to talking about your workspace, right? Okay, let's move on. Now, steps leading to employee experience. These are in no particular order, but I will start with creating the feeling of flexibility and autonomy for your employees. So you have to ensure the workspace or whatever you are doing will give the sense of flexibility, because all of us, we don't want to be forced into doing something. We want to hold ourselves responsible for the kind of work that we do. So you need to create, with the influx of millennials these days, we know it's a game changer for us. So how are we going to engage and at the same time create positive employee experience for these millennials? We also have our baby boomers, we have our Gen X and Gen Ys, and all different people in the same organization. So these are the couple of things that we can do. Moving forward, gamification. I'm particularly very excited about gamification, simply because gamification is a very interactive sort of tool that you can have in your workplace. Say, for example, onboarding. A lot of us, when we do onboarding for our new hires, we will welcome them, we'll give them the whole pack of slides that they need to go through, the do's, the don'ts, the policies, stuff like that, introduce them to their manager, their peers, and so on and so forth. But a lot of organizations these days make it more fun. I think that element is really very important, the fun at workplace. So it's not monotonous, so people feel that it's nice to get to work and interact with people. And gamification is something that we as an organization, or we as a practitioner, use to include the fun element, right? This gamification can be done for onboarding, things like you can list tasks for them to perform, games for them to go through, meet so and so person, get these information, you collect points along the way, and what you do with the points, you probably can exchange it with vouchers, the fun things, that sort of stuff. The third one, HR technology marketplace. Now, we all know there's abundance of technology out there. So what we need to do is we need to ensure that we find what is suitable for us, what works for us, right? Not everything that is out there fits the kind of culture that we are in, fits the kind of want that we have for the organization and the people. So think about what technology that you can use and embed that as part of the tools in the organization. Your performance reviews, or maybe how you do your talent review and stuff like that. There's just so many tools out there. Go find, talk to people, ask people what are their experiences having these tools or having worked with these tools, the pros and cons, so on and so forth. Okay, D&I is another very big thing on any organization's agenda these days. So there's a lot of there's lots of initiatives going revolving around D&I. So stuff like women at workplace, gender. It can be different education. We used to have those days. We used to have this stuff of you have to have a minimum qualification, a degree, before you can come in as an executive. But are we still in that kind of mentality, or are we going to have a special program for those who don't have the degree, but they're still a talent, can still work for you, they have a lot of ideas? How do you bring them on board and develop them in order for them to attain their aspiration and help organization to be successful at the same time? So these are the things that we can consider, right, when it comes to D&I agenda. Last but not least, right, health and well-being. Health and well-being is something that is frequently spoken. We have got with the kind of environment we are in, the pace that we are going. A lot of us focus too much on work that employees' well-being are not part of the consideration. And I think as an organization, it's really crucial for us to move away from that perspective, right? Well-being and health, promoting well-being and health at workplace is definitely going to have the biggest ROI for an organization, right? You need to keep your employees healthy. If your employees are not healthy, and if your employees don't feel like coming to work, how are we as an organization going to actually be productive, right? So embed well-being initiative, do simple stuff, right? You may have your medical providers, call them in for a roadshow, get some doctors' consultations, give them some vouchers to go and get their executive screening done, give them, I'm a fan of AIA Vitality, and I think that is a very wonderful product that organizations can actually embark on. And vitality is something that everyone can connect to, whether it's millennials, whether it's baby boomers, everyone. So, if you eat well, if you sleep well, if you exercise well, you get rewarded. Who wouldn't want, right? So these are the things that we can explore along the way. And this, if it's done in a progressive manner, and it will definitely ensure that employees, retention is definitely something that you can look forward to. Yeah. Well, coming towards the end tail of my presentation, key takeaways. Well, like I said, it's always the employees. Think from perspective of employees. We have to flip our mindset. What we think will work may not work, but if you get that input from your employees, I can assure you, you will definitely be able to make it, right? Start small, okay? Let's not just rush and jump into the bandwagon and say, hey, I'm going to go towards, I'm going to do this, all this great, wonderful stuff, and you rush into everything, and at the end of the year, you realize that you may not have done, you may have done a lot of things, but you may not have done it well, that it doesn't translate into what you aspire it would be. So from my experience, back in my days in Siemens, we used to have attrition as a challenge. So along the way, what we decided was we wanted to start small. So we said, okay, leave HR aside, but we're gonna get people to join us, HR being a facilitator, to join us to create small groups where they bounce off ideas and talk about what they want, what is important, what will help them and the organization. And along the way, in that process, we derived a lot of wonderful ideas and we implemented those ideas. Simple stuff like work from home, flexible work hours, Parents' Day, where you get to bring your child to work. I see that's a trend these days. But this was an initiative like 5 years ago, sort of thing. And then there was also a lot of initiatives that we did as a group, and these are small bite size that we tried. And along the way, over the years, it reaped benefit to the organization. So always start small, right? The next thing is your people managers. I think most of the time we will say that we need the buy-in from the top leaders, the CEO, the CFO, the HODs. But let me tell you, without the buy-in from your people managers, it ain't going to be easy, yeah? Because your people managers are actually the link between you and your employees, right? So make sure you as a leader talk to your people managers, explain to them what is this all about, how is it going to impact the people, the business. Make sure they are with you and they want to do it for the organization. So that's very important. And of course, engage employees as consumers. Think of them as your consumers. You want your consumers to be happy. You want your consumers to continue business with you, buying your products, using your services, stuff like that. And you would go all out to meet the demand of your customers because you know that's where the money is, right? At the same time, look at your employees as your customer. Treat them as your customer, and I can guarantee you it will really work well. So that is, well, the end of my presentation. But before I end, this is something that I would like to really emphasize. Yeah, we spoke about culture, we spoke about technology, we spoke about space and stuff like that. But as a leader, I think when you talk about HR leaders, another very important facet of our, what we need to have in us is we need to really treat people as human beings, right? A lot of us fail to do that. We look at our employees as commodities. We look at them. We don't emphasize. We don't have, managers have lost empathy. I think that's the key word. Empathy is really very, very important in all our lives, right? So make sure you as a leader in the organization have the empathy for your employees. Make them feel that you know what they are going through. Give them that space to talk to you, to explain to you. Process tools and all those things are there as a guidance. But what is most important is having the human relationship, the human touch. That's very, very important. So that would be something that I'm very passionate about, and I hope you are too. Okay. Rita?
Okay. Thank you, Vimala, for the wonderful presentation. Okay, so here comes the Q&A session, and I would like to pass the control to our participants today for any questions. Do you have any questions from our participants today? I've already unmuted everyone so that you can speak. If you don't want to speak it out, you can also type your question on the chat box. Okay, any questions from our participants today? Anyone? How about Cindy? Cindy, welcome. Cindy is from China. Would you like to share anything or she has any question? Cindy? Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Huh? Maybe she has some technical problem there. Anyone from our participants would like to ask Vimala of any questions? Okay, maybe I should give you some time to think about it. I do have some question here, Vimala. Again, thanks very much for the wonderful presentation. We have learned a lot from it. When you talk about key takeaways, right? There are a few points that you mentioned, such as flip your mindset, buy-in from the people managers and so forth. In terms of the application, how does you or how have you implied all this in your current organization?
Well, when we talk about these sort of things, right, it happens, it's a conscious effort that we do every day. So currently I'm with MetLife. So MetLife, just to give you a brief of the organization itself, it's a JV organization with MetLife, and we are into life insurance. So I've just recently joined Emmet for the last 2 months. Prior to this, I was in EIG. That was a general insurance organization. So talking about how we do this is, it's about we as an organization, we as the HR leaders, right? We need to engage with our people in the organization. So in MetLife, what we have been doing is we have been getting small groups of people, meeting this group of people, because let me give you a brief of what happened, I think late last year, prior to me joining. So there was a pulse survey held, and based from the result of the pulse survey, the management got some feedback with regards to some dissatisfaction on certain areas in the organization. So that's how these small groups meetups started. So the CEO and the HR leaders start talking to employees, asking them, well, we know that you are not satisfied with certain things like, maybe the work environment, maybe the culture, maybe this, that, and the other. So you start getting people to talk to you freely, and also one is definitely giving them the freedom to share their thoughts. At the same time, to ensure that the stuff that they speak to you is private and confidential. I think you need to have to gain that trust from your employees to be able to tell you without having to filter, without feeling that they will be judged, so on and so forth. So that is the foremost important thing that we have done as an organization with our employees. So by doing that, we gathered a lot of feedback, a lot of ideas, and at this point in time, as we are speaking, we are actually looking at conscious efforts to improve these areas, and we're not going to do everything at one go. So what we have done is we said, okay, there's 5 main areas that we need to focus on for at least until end 2019. We will meet at least 2 of these goals that we have set upon for ourselves, and we will be able to measure this. So that is also very important. Okay, the measurement can be, again, from a follow-up survey, or the measurement can also be the kind of engagement or the kind of participation that you see from your employees. So these are the simple ways that you can actually gauge whether you've done it well or it's a flop, right? So we all learn from mistakes. We will start doing this, and we, like I said, we have to start small. We have started engaging people managers. We have had difficult conversations with people managers because some of these areas are pointed towards people managers, right? So having difficult conversation is something that is we all as leaders should be able to do, and we should be able to master, right? So we are doing that, and we are also, like I said, we are also looking at our employees as how we want to treat our customers. So I think that's where we are at in MetLife. And I've given some examples from my days in Siemens as well, where we do simple groups. We do it's like a project team where we have teams working on initiatives, and not necessarily these are people from HR. HR works will be there as a facilitator, but this group of employees will run the ideas. Even work from home, we always say work from home, you have to have policies. HR will come up with policies. This is what you do, this is what you don't, and stuff like that. But back in Siemens, what we did was the work from home policy was actually written by a non-HR. the entire policy was prepared by a non-HR. And of course, we as HR will validate whether it's all right, and there's certain boundaries to stuff, right? So we ensure those boundaries are not breached. But end of the day, I'm proud to say all the policies that came out from that discussion was from non-HR. So these are people from business, people, the technical, the engineers, they are the ones who actually drafted these policies. So when this happens, the buy-in from the employees is great. Yeah. So I hope I answered your question, Rita.
Absolutely. And I have another one. You mentioned that it's very important to create a positive culture for different generations, especially when you work in an organization where we have Gen Y, Gen Z, baby boomers, and so forth. How do we do that? How do we create a culture which is applicable to all generations?
Um, okay. I am certainly not the type of HR person who would generalize different generations. Because for me, if you ask me, I mean, I've been speaking to leaders and stuff. They say, "Oh, millennials, they want things fast, but they are lazy." That kind of generalization that different generations tend to be applied to. I'm against that, because if you ask me, we were young long time ago, and we also at that point in time, I remember I used to have that expectations too. When I newly joined an organization, I was so super ambitious. I wanted to, progress really fast, really quickly. I wanted instant feedback too, and that's exactly what the millennials now are asking for. We have done it, but we didn't realize that we were doing it until we see the next generation is we are getting the same thing back to us, right? So if you ask me, at this point in time, right, creating a positive culture is going to be different for me as an organization, for you as an organization, for everyone else. So it's really important for you to know what kind of culture you want to create. So you need to be very sure, okay? If you want to create a culture of openness, right? So openness is very generic. So if you want to do that, then you have to ensure that every single thing that you do, right, you inculcate that culture in it. If you want to be open, say for example, you do a survey, right? You get a result. Communicate that result. That shows you're being open. Do not filter, right? Talk to your employees. Tell them as what it is, right? You have town halls. Talk to them about the business during town halls. Tell them where we as an organization are and aspire to be, and tell them how they can help the organization to move towards that direction. Give them inside information. You see, a lot of times leaders tend to hoard information. They feel that it's okay, the employees need not know, they have their the BAUs that they need to handle. They don't need to know what's happening in terms of numbers, in terms of, a lot of other things, right? But this is where we are doing a mistake. As a leader, if you want to inculcate the openness as your culture, then you have to go all out for it. Yeah, there might be pros, there might be cons, but that's the culture that you're trying to embed, right? Have that, some companies say they want to have open door policy, right? But you are seated in a cubicle, right? How do you want to have that open door policy when you are in cubicle and your door is always closed, right? So these are the simple things that I think we can actually do, okay, to create this culture. This is just one simple example of culture that fits all generations, right? And like I said, even though different generations may have different expectations, end of the day, the company dictates the culture. So if you're working for an organization and if you feel the culture that the company has doesn't fit you, then one, maybe you have to understand why the culture is important for that organization and how you as an employee can adapt to that culture, right? A lot of people, a lot of employees these days leave organization, yes, because of the reasons, but also the culture that they cannot assimilate to. So that is where the struggle is, right? If you want to bring in culture, different types of you want to introduce culture in organization, make sure you communicate to your employees, embed them in all your activities and initiatives. You know, if you even if you send a simple email from HR, make sure you incorporate the culture even in the body of the email to say, okay, employees, you may have a tagline or something like that. Use that in every single emails or collaterals, or even your giveaways and stuff like that. Do that. I think that really will help.
Thank you, Vimala. And my last question will be on the technology. I understand that some companies will use social media to engage in employees. Has your company has such kind of arrangements, or you are considering of doing it, or you are doing it?
Okay. I will speak about AIG, the company that I've been with for the last 4 years. So AIG, what we do is there's a lot. We are active on social media as an organization. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram and stuff like that. And what we do is we normally, when it comes to events or when it comes to any initiatives in the organization, we will encourage our employees to basically, send it out to social media, because we want to build the brand image. Okay, we want people out there. Insurance, it's not a sexy industry, right? So nobody who graduates from any university and say, hey, tomorrow I want to join insurance company, or I want to join AIG, or I want to join MetLife. I don't think so. So we as an organization, especially from the industry, from the insurance industry, we have struggles, to get the right candidates in, to have the right talents in, that sort of thing. So one way of us doing it is definitely social media, because we know that's where the traffic is. So I think 2 years ago in AIG, what we did was we launched a tagline. Okay, it's called AIG Jaga You. So Jaga You is a local language. It's Malay. What it basically means is, AIG, we care for you. So this one is applicable. This tagline is applicable not only to our customers, but also to our employees. And we started building a lot of scenarios around this tagline, a lot of videos that we published, a lot of events that we did, CSR initiatives. We worked with, the different community bodies. We worked with those who are, volunteering activities, those kind of things. This is just to show that we believe in our tagline, and this is what we aspire to be. We want people to, when they think of protection, they think of who's going to take care of me, AIG should pop up, right? In their, and we want that brand to be visible, the tag to be visible. So we went all out. Even till today, AIG is still carrying the tagline, and they are still continuing with whatever initiatives, activities that they're doing for internal as well as external consumers. And I think, right, I really, really believe this. I don't know how many of you will support me, but when you as an employee start talking about your organization, your brand on social media, of course, positively, right? That's when your brand is winning, right? So the end game for all of us is to ensure that our employees becomes our ambassador. You know, they need to believe in us, they need to believe in our product, they need to believe in the services in order for them to preach for us. So that's where I think the technology piece, the social media, really, really helps us as an organization to do that. And this is through our very own employees.
I see. Then with your answer, I comes with the really the last question of the from me. You mentioned about this having your employees as the social media and ambassador, right?
Yeah.
That you really treasure them speaking positively about your company. But how can you control that? Because you know you have so many, say for example in IG, you have so many employees. How can you make sure that they will speak positively in a social media for your company?
Okay. That's a very tricky question. Obviously, you know, like I said, there's always pros and cons. I know not every, not sing, we are not perfect, right? So you will definitely have disgruntled employees. You will have definitely have great disgruntled, customers. Obviously, when it comes to control, there is definitely control. Like say, for example, in Facebook or on Instagram, where we are, right? The moment we receive complaints, the moment we receive negative feedback, or the moment we see any of our employees specifically putting out negative feedback, we will definitely look into it, and we will want to know why, right? A lot of these days, in terms of social media, when we receive comments or complaints on Facebook, we will ensure that our team immediately goes and connects to the customer or the employee and find out what really went wrong and how we can assist and help. I think having that complaint or the negative feedback, it's also good. You see, end of the day, we want to improve and we are not perfect. So these kind of feedbacks and comments definitely going to help us. But how do we control? That's a little bit tricky, like I said. So the main thing in a lot of multinational organizations or even M at Life, we have very strict guidelines when it comes to social media posting, so on and so forth. So it is also embedded in our employee handbook, where we say that if you're going on social media, if you are going as an employee of M at Life or AIG or whatever company that you are with, please ensure certain guidelines are followed, and these are continuously communicated. We have trainings for these social media activities to ensure that we give, while we tell them there is this platform for you to share news, share, put it on Insta and stuff like that. We also limit them in terms of the do's and the don'ts and the trainings and the the continuous conversation. All that definitely helps. So it may not be 100% bulletproof, but at least we from organization perspective, we know that we have taken steps to ensure that our employees know what to do and not to do when it comes to social media activities. That's the best we can do.
I see. Very good. I think we have a lot of takeaways from our speaker today, right? So I just want to know if there are any questions from the participants today. You can either type it out or you can speak it out before we end the session. If no questions, any questions from the floor? Any questions from your side? Like Kellen, Sean, Cindy, and so forth. Okay, so it seems that they're very quiet. So they may have some questions for you later, Vimala.
No problem. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, if you want any sharing, best practices and so on. I'm sure we can connect and we can share our best practices. I'm sure your organizations have great initiatives that you're already doing, and you may have seen the outcome. And let's share and let's use this platform for us to learn from one another.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we have learned a lot from you, and we are going to organize a watch party for this video tape session, so that more people will benefit it, and we also encourage more sharings from our petitioners. Okay, that would have ended the session today. Thanks again for a wonderful speaker today, and so see
Thank
you next
you.
time. Thanks a lot. Okay, take
Thank you,
care. Have a good
everyone.
weekend. Bye bye. Bye
Yeah, you
bye. Bye
too. Bye,
bye.
everyone.